Alright, so we're back up on YouTube. And I need to fix a thing. Okay, sorry about that. Oof, that was wacky. Glorious Pugs. So good to see you. Yeah, man, it's always something. I, I did some YouTube training videos for a client at work, and I was uploading the video, getting it all processed, and then I went through and like cleaned up a bunch of thumbnails and stuff, and I guess I forgot to swap it back, and so I just live streamed about 5 minutes to my work account. That's... yeah, that's a thing. Anyway, back to supporting. So we're going to go ahead and support this guy. Did Chris get back with me? No, he did not. I guess I'm just going to keep the base on for now. Normally, with Hero Forge minis, I like to strip the base off of them. I find that building supports from the base up to the model can be problematic. Like, it won't always generate them. And if there's like a small enough clearance... yeah. I mean, he is a drow. And, so he's probably got some baggage, and he's probably going to need some emotional support too. That's the way it works. This is Chris's attempt at a dark and stormy, haha, aka his name's Dar'Kin, a dark and stormy emo character, and I believe he's really going to lean into it especially if he wants to make me happy, because I'd love for him to play that. So typically what I do is I tilt him back 45 degrees just as like a starting point, and auto-generate supports. Normally that takes care of most of the things. That's a lot of supports. We got one dud right there on the potion bottle. I'm going to try going forward a little bit. The problem here is that if I go forward anymore, this spear is going to be just about level. We want some sort of angle on that. Otherwise, you're going to have support straight across the bottom of it, and that's going to look junky. It's going to make it all muddled. Auto-generate supports. See, now we got one up here on his shoulder. Got one under his boot. That's a weird place for there to be. Why is it trying to put one on his boot? There should not be one there. There's another one on the back of his boot. That's aside from that one right there under his hair, I think we're probably okay. And that hair is kind of covered up. We can probably finagle that one. Alright, so let's see here. We're going to... first, let's just drop a bunch of supports on the base. These Hero Forge minis, they create such a huge base that it causes a lot of suction. So I normally load the base up with supports. So what you been doing on Wing Badger Gaming, Josh? Y'all been up to more shenanigans? Did you guys ever break that ASMR record for was it Matt? think that's probably good. We'll put a couple up here for good measure. Let that build out. All right, let's start checking him. So what we're going to do now is we're going to slice it. You can see a little progress bar down on the right. And this is going to cut it. We're at 600. Nope, that's 850 layers. This is going to cut it into the different layers that will be printed and adhered together. Hello, Hamsons. Welcome to the stream. So now what we're going to do is we're going to just kind of chip up through these. The orange part is the piece of the model, and this is just like a horizontal slice across it. And these pink ones are the supports growing into it. Eventually they'll touch and merge. And what we're looking for here is we're looking for islands. Little pieces of the model that don't have support underneath them. Yeah, those heels are just fine. Hey, Lucrum. Welcome to the stream. Sorry for your computer woes. I had a bit of a snafu myself. I was accidentally streaming to my work account. One of my coworkers popped in and was like, "Hey, I got a notification. Are you streaming to our account?" And I was like, "Junk. I guess I am." That one needs to go over just a little bit. I'd like to keep that one centered on the material. About right there. Yeah, it's a pretty big snafu. Oof. I hate it. It's always something. Always something. Alright, now we got the spear over here. 2 points of contact on the spear now. I think we're probably going to need some more. That's a lot of force right there just to bend against those 2 points. So let's go here, here, and here. Alright, we got fingers. And what's this? This is, yeah, more fingers. Fingers are where it happens, right there. There's an island. If you're not sure what an island looks like, that's what it looks like right there. We don't want that. So let's see if we can reposition those a little bit better. I think I'm going to center it, and I think I'm going to drop its diameter a little bit, because it doesn't need to be on there for too long. All right. So there's the first finger, second, third. Yeah, see, that's like 3 frames before it connects. There was also one over here. The bottom of this potion bottle isn't touched to anything. Hey, Andre. Welcome to the stream. We are supporting a model to be printed. How long did it take for me to do all this? I don't know. I've been 3D printing for a long time, dog. Um, I don't remember when I started doing it though. I've only had my resin, like I haven't had my resin printer as long as I've had my FDM printer though. So it hasn't been as long for that one, for this kind of stuff. I don't know, a couple years maybe? Maybe a year and a half? I honestly don't remember. I could look at my Amazon purchase history and see when I bought this printer. It's not too incredibly difficult. Like this, the process of figuring this stuff out isn't difficult. It's just time consuming. Like the general principles of doing this kind of stuff is make sure there aren't any islands, and yeah, see, there's one there, so that's fine. Yeah, make sure there aren't any islands, and like, I don't know, getting the right angle. So like the worst thing that can happen is you get like halfway up the model like this, and you find an island like say in between this guy's torso and his backpack, and it's like right in there, and you can't get a support to it because other material is blocking it. And if you can't find a support to cover that island, you have to go all the way back out, reorient it, like twist him a different way so that all of the material is supported. So like there's a bit of a puzzle to it, finding out a good orientation, so that you can support all of the material. There's some other things that like, so it's really not like I wouldn't be able to do it, or like you wouldn't be able to do it. It just might take you longer, and you wouldn't know the time saving tricks. There's also some things to consider, like this printer. It prints upside down, and it flashes one layer of resin at a time. So it's like this, and it dunks it down and boop, brings it up. And so knowing to get enough supports on a thing, that's just kind of playing it by ear. I've had some where the suction of it pulling off of the little screen is more than, the force is stronger than the amount of supports I put on here, so it'll break the supports off and it messes up the print. And so I've just had a number of failed prints where I'm like, oh, well, that wasn't enough, so I'll put more on next time. Also, like tilting it back the degrees and so far, that's just like I don't know, that's part of the puzzle of finding supported material, and just kind of tinkering with it, like that. Now that I'm looking at this, oh, right there, that's going to be a pain to get a support on. Like there's no room to generate a support there. That's the worst. And so my options are, depending upon how bad it is, I could reorient the whole model, or I could just let that little bit of the ear clip off. And it, you know, honestly, it probably isn't that bad to let that happen. But normally I cut the bases off because I have my own bases, and because it makes supporting easier. You know, I only have to have supports on the bottom of the feet, and maybe up the leg instead of all of these down here. Saves material. Well, let's go through with this and see if I have to redo it all. There's also some other things to consider, like how many layers tall is going to determine how long it takes to print. Unlike an FDM 3D printer, which is determined by the path that it takes to actually squirt the material out and build the thing. This is all determined by the layers. So if I can take a mini and I can lay him flat on his back, it'll print in a shorter amount of time. I can get him out quicker. Which is another reason why I don't just do them straight up and down. I got some islands here. right there. That should probably just be centered. Yeah, that'll be fine. Yeah, just a lot of paying attention. You know, if something looks iffy and I get a failed print, then I can kind of identify it, go back and adjust my process. You know. But for the most part, you're just trying to get support material underneath everything with as few supports as possible, because the more supports you have, the more like see, this is going to be a nice smooth finish on the shield. Once I break that off, it's going to have a break mark there that I'm going to have to clean up with a knife or like fill in. Like this support here, it would probably be better for me to take and go like this. So now I can cut off clean rather than be on an angle that I would have to cut around. And that's just because I've had to cut around some of those and they looked ugly, and I've learned, you know, you don't put supports there. Or like the reason that we don't tilt him forward instead of backwards is because we don't want supports on his face. The front of the mini is what most people are going to look at. So if you put the supports on the back, then the stuff that you have to cover up is like not what people are primarily going to be looking at. Human eyes are drawn towards faces. They're not going to be like, whoa, look at all these pockmarks on his backpack. Huh, that makes the leather look not genuine. They're not going to say that. Alright, we're coming up to the neck, which means we're getting close to that ear. There's our chin. There's the ear. Okay, so we got one layer. That's one slice of the ear there, and then it connects. So I'm not going to worry about that. I'm not going to worry about putting a support there. Essentially what it's going to do is it's going to take that layer and it's going to collapse it up into the layer above it. So his ear will just like look a little smushed. But again, it's like between his pauldron and his hair and his backpack, you're not going to even notice. There was another one down underneath here. This hair down here had one. Did that have any weirdness to it? It did, right there. So we've got 1, 2, 3 layers. So that much right there is going to be collapsed up into that layer. But again, once it gets to that layer, it's gonna attach and it's gonna pull off of the little plate just fine. I think that's actually gonna be perfectly acceptable. It's gonna be underneath his shoulder, or like over his shoulder, under his hair. I think that'll be fine. That one's connecting okay. Ooh, I need to sit up straight. My posture's getting crazy. There's the nose. What was that? And then the next layer it connects, so that's fine. Nice. So I think we're okay. So this should be all right. So then what we're going to do is we're going to take him and file, export the plate and the STL with the supports. And we're going to go to my manufacturing folder, photon, characters, hero Dar'Kin dash sup for supported. Save. No, not that. Manufacturing, photon, characters. I have all my heroes together. Where are you going to? Oh, I went to creatures, not characters. No, it did it again. Characters. Thank you. So here's my heroes. Where are you, Dar'Kin? A, B, C, D, Dar'Kin. There you are. Let's take the original model, because I like to hang on to the original one just in case. There's Dar'Kin. Hero Dar'Kin. Where is he? Hero Dar'Kin. Did I not type hero correctly? Oh, forgot a space. There we go. Alright, so we got him supported. Now what we're going to do is we're going to slice him. And now you might be thinking, hey John, didn't you already slice him here? Kind of. My 3D printer is a Photon Zero, which takes a very special slicer because it uses a very specific style of file, very proprietary file type. So I can't use this to slice the file. I feel like my audio's out of sync. Is my audio out of sync? I feel like there's a bit of a delay on my video. Maybe it's just me. I've never had this video go wacky before. Where's my camera? I am disappeared. And I'm back. Yeah, I already sliced him. Thanks. No, I didn't already slice him. I'm gonna try something. What if I change this to here? Ooh. There's a huge delay. Wow. And back over here. Wow, that's even worse. Well, I don't want to stop the stream and start it again because that's annoying. What should I do? The show must go on. Alright, so this actually is a preview of what the slicing looks like, and I use this to generate the supports, or to prove the supports, but actually I'm going to need to slice this with a different piece of software. So let's scoot you out of the way, actually. Let's go ahead and close you. Boop, boop, boop. And we're going to open up Photon Workshop. This little guy right here. Ba-na-na-na. And this, what we do is we just drop the models in here. And this is the print bed. Like, that's the actual size of the print bed. Yeah, ever since I turned the camera off and back on. Make the picture smaller so no one can tell. I mean, I could do this. I could turn off my camera and just turn on a cool data GIF. That's what I normally do when I have camera problems. So as Admiral data, so essentially this here is the print bed. It's the same size, and I could just like load up a bunch of minis on here. So I could put Caleb on here, and you know, move them around, and as long as I can fit it all on here, I can print it. So I'm actually going to delete that one here. I don't have anything else to print. It's more efficient, and it doesn't actually change the print time. Like the print time is determined by the height. So if I was to put another model on here that was taller, it would make it take longer. But if I put like a bunch of small stuff around the edge, it would use more resin, but it wouldn't actually take more time because it just has to cures the entire slice at once. So it's very efficient for printing a bunch of little stuff. This is kind of nitpicky, but it's a little close to the edge, so I think I'm going to center it a bit more. So I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees on the z-axis, kind of put him in the center. And I'm going to change my resin type to Anycubic Gray. There's two types of resin that I've used. I've used clear Anycubic resin and gray Anycubic resin. So I have some gray on my printer right now. So let's go ahead and do that. And then we'll click this guy here. And I'm just going to put him on my desktop. We'll just call it Dar'Kin. And I'm going to put a dash there because I don't know if my printer has a problem with apostrophes in the file names. It's going to actually do the slicing now. And then it's going to give us a little preview. It's going to say it's going to take 3.5 hours. It's going to take 4.61 milliliters of resin. If I click preview, what it's actually done is it's taken that model and it's dropped it into a series of just pings, just images. You can actually right-click and save these and pull them out. They're just pictures. And so each one of these different layers is a single picture. And then that printer is going to flash that image into the resin and cure that single layer. Move it up a little bit and then do it again. And that is the process of assembling this whole thing. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to close this. We're going to go pop this onto the printer real quick. So I'm going to put you guys on hold for a second, and I'm going to run over there, and I'll show you the process of getting it onto the printer. Alright, so this is the printer here. USB drive. We're just going to pop the file directly into there. Scoot you out of the way. Can you hear me okay? You should be able to hear me okay. I'm not on my nice mic since my machine moved. How much resin do we have? So this is just a little vat of resin in there. I have a little popsicle stick that I cut the tip off that I use to kind of stir it up. Because sometimes it'll separate if it sits too long. Shouldn't be too bad though. You can see it kind of gets a little swirly. It's almost like the dye inside separates out from the resin itself. I believe I'm getting low on gray. Yes, Danny, it is absolutely bad that you know the exact same line that comes after that. It's terrible. I'm just kidding. I know you're a Trek fan. I was actually watching Next Generation, I think during COVID. I started going through it again. It's a good show. You do want to be careful with resin. It's volatile stuff. Nope, that one's empty. That's clear. Okay, so this is the rest of my gray. So now that that file is loaded on there and our resin's all stirred up, pull the drive out. You just pop it in this little guy on the side. And we're gonna, it's got a little LCD screen. Just go print. Automatically detects the USB. You just tab down through the images. There's Dar'Kin. Tap him. Hit the play button. And away she goes. And I'm at probably 35 milliliters. Oh yeah, we're gonna have, well, ooh. That might not be enough. It's barely covering it on that side. If not, I'll just have to clean it out and print them again in clear. One thing you want to listen for, actually let me take my headset off for a second. You want to listen for a pop. The first couple layers. It should, when it pulls away from the plastic, the plastic cover on top of the screen, it'll make a. As long as that happens, you know you got a good first couple layers, and you're, it should be fine from then on. Will Wheaton's a pretty chill dude. Yep, there's the pop. It's ever so slightly. Be right back. Okay. Is testing 1 2 3. Hey, we're back. Ooh, I worked up a sweat walking from one side of the house to another. All right, so we got him printing. That didn't take as long as I thought it was going to be. We actually did pretty good in supporting him. I didn't have to redo it a bunch of times. So what we're going to do now, we're going to paint some dogs and some cats. So let me move this over here. Go to our painting setup. Whoa, what happened there? Why is my camera so small? Please hold. That got moved all around and messed up. Wait, now that's way too big. There we go, that's a better quality. Scoot you out of the way. Shut up, Leslie. That's a great part. That's my favorite part about that Christmas Carol that somebody made off of like scenes from Star Trek. I'm gonna try turning the camera back. Hey! Now we don't have lag. That was weird. I don't know what the deal was. Cats and dogs. Cats and dogs. Let's get my mic over here. So we have a couple things we could paint tonight. We got some of these guys. We got a couple cats. We got a couple dogs. Got a couple long-tailed cats. We have an ankylosaurus. And we have a badger. We already did Ferdinand the Mastiff. Got him all done. And Asha, she was there just for color reference. And we got Fang. Hey, Andre, guess what? It's Fang. Will Wheaton is a pretty cool guy, actually. He's a big... Oh, let me move my camera up a little. He's a big D&D nerd, actually, if you didn't know. He's pretty big in the tabletop gaming scene. Not just for D&D, but like other just tabletop games in general. Okay. Cats. Let's get a... What do you think? Let's do a poll. Do you think the little corgi first? One of the short-tailed cats? Or one of the long-tailed cats? What do you guys think? My camera is autofocusing. There we go. Yeah, I knew that. But he was in the Critical Role campaign as a guest character. I believe it was their first campaign. He played this this dwarf who rolled religiously bad. So if you don't know, Corgi, huh? We got one vote. Beth said long-tail cat. We got one for Corgi. Got to break the tie. If you don't know, so Will Wheaton, when he plays Dungeons and Dragons, it's astounding how badly he rolls. He rolls ones all the time, and just like consistently 3s, 5s, 7s, like hardly anything above a 10. It's like, mathematically speaking, he should roll higher than that more often, but it's like a thing that he acknowledges and recognizes, and everybody just knows it's the Wheaton curse. He loves tabletop games and just cannot roll high. It's amazing. Alright, we're going to have to roll for it then. Here's a good old D20. If it's, so we got Corgi and Longtail. So if it's even, we'll do Corgi. If it's Longtail, or if it's odd, we'll do Longtail. That's a 6. We're doing the Corgi first. Alright, so let's put you up there. Take you, Corgi. And actually, yes, put you there. Cat there, cat there. We'll do both of the Corgis first. Oh no, his magnet fell off. It's a bummer. Let me remagnetize him real quick. Then we'll need my super glue. Give that a second. See, it's pretty funny seeing Will Wheaton play D&D. Just because he rolls so poorly and he leans into the failures pretty good. He's a pretty good sport like that. And he's got a bit of a baby face, so it's like he looks just like young Wesley but with a beard. Or maybe more like adolescent Wesley with a beard. There we go. I started magnetizing these a while ago, and man, it has been such a time saver just being able to snap them on and snap them off. What's a Corgi look like, guys? What's a common pattern for a Corgi? Let's look up some images, some reference images. Y'all let me know if one of these jump out at you. Yeah, I'm thinking more of like the actual pattern. Safe search, we want strict. Oh, do diddle corgis. I kind of like this one. I like the dark to the brown and then the white. So I'll save image. Actually, we'll just open it in a new tab. And then brown and white, so maybe something like one of these little guys. Maybe something like him. Maybe something like these guys. I think that'll work. These guys and this guy. Save image as. We'll save it to my desktop. All right, now we need to load them in as a reference image. There's one. Or the little corgis. Making Amy's day with all the corgis. Alright, and then we need a... got another reference image here. Properties. We need to point that to the other one. Alright, we'll use these for our reference images. So we have our two corgis. These actually have long tails. These are long-tailed corgis. Alright, now let's get our palette out. Palette's nice and clean. And get some clean water. We have water. And actually, before we do this, I'll let that dry out. We're going to drop a zenithal highlight on these. And I can hear you say, John, what is a zenithal highlight? Well, let me tell you all about it. You may be familiar with the term zenith. The zenith of something is like the highest peak. How did the Hydra turn out? Oh, check it out, my man. It turned out like this. That zenithal highlight really got the highlights. You can see like the shadows around in there and stuff. This is like, I'm not using different coats of yellow. This is all one yellow. But the highlights and the shadows came through just fine. And look at that. Look at this guy compared to the corgi. You going to eat the corgi. Yum, 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 yum. Well, thank you, Danny. I think it's kind of amazing. So anyway, the zenithal is like the... If you're looking at my camera bubble, it would be the top. So a zenithal highlight is a highlight that comes down from the top. That's essentially what it is. And the way we're going to do it is we've already got these guys primed in black. I'm going to take some white Bombay ink. Normally my stuff is printed in gray. This is the way it comes. And then I spray paint it with black primer. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take our little airbrush here, and we're just going to put a couple drops of white in here. I like the ink because it has a high pigment count. Probably something like that. These little guys are small, and actually, if I'm going to put a little bit more in, because if I'm going to go ahead and zenithal highlight these guys and get my airbrush all dirty, I might as well do the cats too. Just get that all done in one go. So let's pull this out. Put that off to the side. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to shoot it down from the top. I got a clog already. Maybe I didn't clean it out so well last time. See if that helps. Yeah, there, it's better. Doing something. Still coming out in spurts. No, it's not coming out at all. One more time. I was getting a little something. There we go. So I'm just going to hit it from the top. Make a couple little passes. Some shadows now. So like if you look at it from underneath, it's got shadows. From the top, it's highlights. Put a thin coat of paint on it, and those highlights will show through. And that is a zenithal highlight. If you want to get into mini painting, you can kind of do a fake, but that's not really a fake zenithal highlight. It's more of just like a more crude, maybe a bit rudimentary zenithal highlight. By just taking your brush and brushing down from the top in a single direction. I actually did that for a little bit before I got my airbrush. Oh, it's blocking my hand. Is it still blocking my hand now? My mic is kind of blocking my view of the screen, so I can't see myself so well. Take this guy off and use. What was I trying to describe when my hand was blocked? Oh, okay. Actually, I want to give these corgis another pass. They're a little dark. I want to get a little bit more light on them. And that's all she wrote. There's my ink. One of the nice things about airbrushing too is that it dries very quickly. So like these corgis are and cats and stuff, they're already ready to paint. I'll just clean this out real quick. Actually, I'm just going to do it really quick in the sink. One of the downsides of an airbrush is the cleanup afterwards. It's nice to have if you're going to do a lot of minis, because you can kind of batch paint them. But the prep and the cleanup take a long time. So it's not really worth it if you just do one or two. Grab my airbrush cleaner. So you not only want to like rinse this out, it's a good idea to get some down in the bottom and to actually blow it out through the nozzle. No, the highlight is pretty much just white paint. It's white ink. So technically it's like still paint. It's just a high concentration of pigment. Paint is composed of, at least acrylic paint, is composed of water, acrylic, which is like liquid plastic, and pigment, which is like dust that is colored, like colored powder. And when you have cheap paints like Apple Barrel, Burnt Umber, it has water and acrylic in it, and it just has like a little bit of pigment, or like it's cheap pigment. But the pigment count is normally not very high. Pretty much the only difference between high dollar acrylic paints and inks and cheap Apple Barrel ones is that they just have nicer and a higher count of pigment. You can still paint just fine with cheap Apple Barrel paints. And actually I use a lot of cheap Apple Barrel paints. Like that first whole row is Apple Barrel, which are like $1 at Walmart. But the difference is you might have to like put a couple different coats, like a couple coats to get the color to be nice and solid. But I totally, like, there's even some shades of Apple Barrel paint that I just prefer because I can't find that color with, like, professional miniature paints. Also, professional miniature paints are expensive. Like, really expensive. I ended up getting like an Amazon gift card from work for doing a thing or something, and used it on buying some paints. And then after I got them, I was like, they're okay, but they're like only marginally better than the apple barrel ones I was using already. So like these two rows, these are just apple barrel. These two right here, those are Vallejo game paints. And they're really nice. The blue is crap. I hate the blue so much. I don't use it for anything. I need to find something to use it on so I can just get rid of it. But this was like, these are like 25, probably more than that. They're more like 50 cents to $1 each. These were like $50 for the whole set. So you can do the math. That's 16 and 18. So $18 versus $50 for these. Okay. Now that we got you, let's grab a paintbrush. Let's take you. Get my water, get my paints, get my palette. Yeah, and these paintbrushes, I think they've come up before in the stream. $6 from Hobby Lobby. Number 8 rounds. That's all I use. I've tried more expensive ones, and they're marginally better. Really, I kind of stay away from them. I think I've mentioned it in the stream before, but I kind of stay away from nicer, high-dollar paintbrushes because I don't know how to take care of them. They end up getting messed up anyway. My friend Ike, he's a coworker of mine and a good friend, and he's the one who got me into mini painting. These are the ones he uses. He just picks up some stuff from Hobby Lobby. And he's been painting for many, many more years than I. All right. Let's do the brown corgi, because that's less colors. That's just white and brown. We're going to need some black. We're going to use a good quality black, because that's going to be for its snout, its mouth, and its eyes. It is a great hobby. I love it. I love doing it. If you would ever want to get into it, Andre, I would love nothing more than to help you do it. It's super chill. Like, I love just kind of relaxing and painting. My little wet palette, this is a dollar store sandwich container with a sponge. Like this is let me get a thing. This is a sponge that has a little piece of paper towel on top of it. And then on top of that is baking parchment. Not wax paper, but baking parchment. And what that does is it lets water permeate up through the sponge, up through the paper towel to evenly distribute it. And then it slightly soaks through the parchment paper. And it like drip feeds almost moisture from underneath the paint to keep it from drying out. So like you can put paint in here, cover it up, put it away for a day, come back and your paint's still wet. You might have to remix it if it's a lower quality paint because it can kind of separate, especially metallic paints. Metallic paints, actually, fun fact, aren't metallic. They don't have metal. They're like this silver, it's a light gray with mica in it. So the mica will kind of separate out and you'll have to like mix it back up. But it's great for if you got like custom mixed paints or whatever, and you want to come back to a mini the next day and paint some more. Your colors already matched up. So we're going to do a little bit of black. We need black for his nose and his eyes. We're just going to put a little drop of that down here. Not much. Because his eyes are literally just going to be a dot with the paintbrush. We're probably not even going to use all of that. And then we want like a light brown. It's like a light, fluffy think Beastie Brown is probably a bit too red. Maybe our tan. I think our tan is going to be a good color. And then we're actually going to need a white because the shadow on these guys is on the bottom. And it might seem a little silly that we painted the top white and left the bottom black, but their tummies are going to be white, but it'll actually work to our favor. I'm going to use bone white for this. This is an off-white. The reason you use off-white is because in nature, very rarely do you have a stark white. Actually, their fur is, well, So here's the question. Their fur is stark white in that, but they're also clean. They're also clean little puppies. That's pretty white fur. Let's go with dead white. I think this is probably going to be one of the few instances that we use a pure white. Normally you want to use an off-white. So let's drop that right here. And not Beastie Brown. Let's get our tan mixed up. Now they're apple barrel paints, but obviously they don't look like the little apple barrel bottles. When I built this paint rack, this is a plan that I designed. There's a paint case that somebody made online, I forget what it's called. And it was so cool, I wanted one, but it was like $300 or whatever. And I was like, I can build one of those. So I copied their design. I took the pictures from their website and measured my own designs off of it, and it took me a long time, but it was a fun project. But I wanted these paint bottles to fit in here, and those big apple barrel paints, they just don't fit. So I bought these little guys from Amazon. Bought a bag of 50 of them for $5 or something. And then they came with these. I got these little glass beads. You drop a couple glass beads inside because you can pop these little stoppers off, these little dropper tips. You can pull those off. That's how you squirt the paint in. Dropped a couple glass beads in there. And it's like a little rattle can, like a spray can. You can shake them up. So if your paint separates, you just shake them on up. Alright, so I'm going to thin this down a little bit with water. When you use a zenithal highlight, you want to thin your paints at least a little bit. If you paint too thickly, if that's a word, it'll completely cover up your zenithal highlight and your shadows. So you thin it down a little bit, and it'll almost glaze on. This is going to be an instance where it'll be nice to have. It would be to your advantage to have a nice, good quality paint and not a cheap apple barrel paint, because when you thin it, it'll still have enough pigment in it to cover nicely. But let's see how well we do with apple barrel paints. All right, so this guy, it looks like, yeah, I think we're gonna paint the brown on first, and then we'll paint the white details on top of it. I think that'll be the most efficient. So it's all over their bodies. Their back paws are white. Their front forepaws are white, like forelegs are white. I can't tell if their tails are white. Maybe we'll leave a little dot on their tail. We're just gonna, let me zoom this in a fuzz. Yeah. You can kind of see how the white is shining through. Shining through a little bit. You can see here, it looks a little splotchy. That's because we're using apple barrel paint, and it's not covering as nicely as it could. You see underneath his tail is dark. And now it's tan. And when it dries, you'll notice like it's actually a darker tan than it is on top. On the top, it'll be a lighter tan. It's just next on the list. I don't know if there is even a stat block for dogs, but ever since Feyre learned Wild Shape and started turning into animals, I was like, well, I better go ahead and get animals lined up so that she has something to turn into. And it's close to the top, you know. Dogs are a D. And I'm kind of loosely going alphabetical. And it looks like the inside of their ears are white. That's interesting. So he's already starting to come together. And that's because we already put shadows and highlights on it. Next is Emu. Man, I added way too much tan. That was like one brush full for this whole dog. Alright, let's pop him in front of the fan. Get him drying. And we'll do this one. And I think for this one, what we'll do is we'll just build the colors up. So we'll go ahead and do tan on him too. And then we'll layer the black on top. Because the tan is like in between the white and the black on our reference image. So rather than trying to paint the tan around it, like to draw a tan line between the black and the white, I think it'd be easier just to do it like this. So I don't think Emu is on the list. Although there's probably no reason that it couldn't be. I mean, I've already done a rhino. Although technically I didn't print a rhino. I went to the dollar store and got one of those little tubes of zoo animals. And I cleaned it up and I painted it. And actually it's in here. Would you believe I bought and painted this thing from the dollar store? It's amazing what a little paint and some wash will do. Alright, put him in front of the fan. Let's get this guy back. And it's got a little snout. We do his cute little snout. I need to know where this little head stripe goes. I'm going to flop over to my browser real quick. Any backs of corgis' heads? It looks like it might just vanish. Yeah, looks like it just vanishes. So there's a couple things you can do for shaky hands. Because a lot of miniature painters will develop shaky hands, not because of miniature, but like they develop just, you know, shaky hands. There's one position called the triangle of power, where you post both of your hands on your chest, put your hands together, like cup your hands almost, and you paint like this. And it gives you 3 points of pressure. And you can, you know, so a lot of miniature painters will paint like this. There's another thing you can do where the way your muscles work in your hands is you have you know, muscles that pull down and tendons that pull back, right? And when you move your fingers in the middle, you're using both. And like with any muscle, if it's not strong enough, and you flex it and you're holding it in that position, it'll start to shake. And that's what hand tremors are. So what you can do is, I don't have one with me, but you can take a rubber band, wrap it around your fingers, and then up around your thumb, and it pulls your hand together like this. And what you can do is you relax your hand, but it's held tight. And you can do the same thing for your brush. Because you're painting with your wrist, not your fingers, but it's your fingers being tense that cause the tremors. So what you do is you can plant your elbows on the table and have your hands like rubber banded shut, and then you can just do like that. I've got pretty decent control in my hands, and they don't shake very often. Sometimes they do. If it's been a long day and I've done a lot of typing, I can get shaky hands. But a lot of time it's enough for me to just press my pinky against my thumb, and that's enough to like mount my hand. So I'm just gonna feather this in, make it look like fur. There we go. And we're going to go in the ear too. It's starting to shape up. Oh yeah, Josh, that rhino. It was a pretty cool model, but like I said, it was like I just got it from the dollar store. It was in one of those plastic tubes. So China can take credit for that. Alright, so it looks like these guys even have white down here under their mouths. We're losing a little bit of detail here, but it's going to be okay. Once we wash it, we're going to get all that shadow and crease and stuff back. Alright, and let's do... Corgis always have little fluffy buns. They're little white fluffy buns. Oop, I'm off camera, sorry. Let's get his little paws. And then this is going to go down. My paint is starting to dry because of that fan I have turned on. I should probably turn that off. So this part of the process, Danny, since you're new, is called base coating. And it's probably like the easiest, like the least technical. It's essentially just like coloring in a coloring book. After base coating, what we're going to do is we're going to wash it. And then after we wash, we're going to do details. So that'll be like putting his eyes and his snout on and maybe stippling some fur. Some color variation. Let's get his belly. Some difficult angles back underneath there. Probably would have been better to like try to paint this without a base, but I'm terrible at doing that too. No, Andre. That's a good question, though. It is washed with what's called a wash. And I'll explain more about that in a minute once we... because we're, like, he's ready to be washed once I let him dry off. We'll go ahead and get this guy down, and I'll explain it a bit more once we get to that point. These, right here, these are washes. Alright, I think I'm going to put the white on this guy. And then I'm going to put the black on. Well, I'm going to do his belly. I'm not going to do his head yet. And I'm not going nearly as far up around his mouth because that brown kind of comes halfway, has a bit of a transition on his muzzle. And if I go too far with the white, we can always come back with tan and cover it up. It's relatively easy to fix mistakes when you're base coating. The tricky mistakes to fix are like when you're doing some detail work, like trying to paint an eye and you mess it up and you got to paint all over it, or like after you've washed it and you try to paint on top of it and it just messes up the shadows that you got from the wash. Or like if you're doing a blend and you're trying to fade from one color to another. And you end up accidentally painting over something. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Pretty much hit the nail on the head. It's I don't know if it's oil. It is a little oily, and I don't think it's just watered down. There's something in it called a surfactant, and I don't know what like professional washes uses as their surfactant, but the surfactant breaks up the surface tension, so like it doesn't, if you put a drop of water it kind of bubbles because it has surface tension. The surfactant breaks the surface tension and lets it seep into the cracks instead of just kind of bubbling up. But yeah, that's pretty much it. You hit the nail on the head. And oh man, when the washes come out, that's when the mini starts looking good. If you're gonna get into mini painting and you really want to up your game, you don't have to use washes, but it's the most bang for your buck. You can put like $5 into a little tub, or like 3 or 4, probably closer to $5, into like a little tub of wash, and it will like 300% increase the quality of your mini. It's so nice. Oh, we got to get inside of his ears. So I think some of this white is picking up some of the yellow that was already on my palette, and I actually like it because brown is just dark yellow. So you can actually make your own wash. If you kind of have to fiddle with the quantities. But before I started painting minis, I actually painted terrain, like houses, boulders, columns, rocks, stuff like that for my D&D game. And I would make my own wash for it. The basic recipe is just black apple barrel paint, just like black acrylic paint, water. You water it down a bit, and then you add a drop or two of dish soap, like Dawn dish detergent, and that will act as the surfactant to break the surface tension. You can get scientific with the ratio. I never got really good at it. It was like always good enough. The recipe is love. The recipe is the tears of frustrated, very talented artists, and it's just liquid talent that you drip onto your mini. Thanks for calling me out on that, Luke Rumchan. I appreciate you keeping me honest. I don't know what I was thinking. Dawn dish detergent. It's artist tears. All right, let's get some dark on this boy. So he's like, it's like got like a little bit of a brown layer in between everything. I think this is going to need a couple extra coats. I don't like how mottled it's looking. Mottled. That's a word, right? Splotchy. Well, don't ruin your health on my part, Danny. You have a good night. The VOD will be available on Twitch for 2 weeks. I'm also simulcasting this to YouTube. I'm Washburnello everywhere on the internet, so if you just search YouTube for Washburnello, you can pull up the video if you're curious to see like how washes work, and or if you just want to skip to the end to see how it all turned out. But thanks for coming and hanging out, man. For those of you that don't know, Danny is one of my oldest friends, back from my high school days. Be good, Danny. Now let's get a little bit on his face. So up around the eyes, but above the eyebrows. Yeah, I think that's turning out okay. Let's get a little bit of white on here. We'll go down the forehead. And we'll get up under the snout, under the eyes, over the snout. There we go. And I'm going to go, actually, before we wash it, I'm going to go ahead, since he's an animal, I'm just going to dot his eyes and put a nose on him. My hands are actually starting to get a little shaky. Believe it or not. Yeah, I think it's turning out pretty good. See? That just brought the whole thing together. Now it looks like a face. Until that nose was on there, it kind of looked off. Now it looks like a face. It's kind of weird how like you recognize certain aspects of things and not of others, and until all of the pieces are in place, like it just, I don't know, kind of looks like a, I don't know. It's weird. Now this whole dog is actually going to darken down a bit, and that's from the wash. But I think it'll be alright. I'm going to put a little snoot on him. Boop the snoot. Now, you can barely see it here on the camera, but he actually has like a crease for his mouth, and dogs have that like split lip on the front. I could trace that with black to kind of bring that out, but I think the wash is going to do a better job of that. So while this is drying, because we want it nice and dry before the wash, I'm going to go ahead and knock some of this white off of the base, because I like to make just straight black bases. Use up some of this paint. See, even high dollar mini paint can't cover white perfectly. You're going to need like 2 or 3 coats. Just use apple barrel paints. Apple barrel paints are just fine. And it's a nice way of getting into the hobby. That way if you end up not liking it, or you know, you do it enough and you're like, oh, okay, well I did it, I'll do something else, then you're not out a whole bunch of money. But if you do get nice paints, I mean, it does make it nicer. They're creamier and they're easier to work with. And they last a long time. Like, I bought these once, and I've been doing this for like a year or so. And I want to say I got those like maybe 2 or 3 months into when I started painting. All right. This guy's nice and dry. So I'm going to cover this up. And let's zoom the camera back out. Not that far, right there. Let's grab some washes. So I'm thinking the whole thing in just Seraphim Sepia. Not to be confused with Cherubim Sepia. Seraphim Sepia. I think I'm just going to do it in that, because the black is already dark enough. This will give like a bit of a brown tinge on the white parts, and kind of just dirty and darken it up a little bit. This is a fantasy setting. It's not a freshly cleaned dog, but it'll still help hold the white. So let's do that. So this stuff is very thin. It's very liquidy. And we're just going to get a nice big goober drop on here. And we're just going to slather it on. So you can see how it like got into the ears, kind of ponded up a little bit. Creates those shades. It kind of got up under the neck and around the around here, around the legs. Creates little shadows there. And it did get into the mouth. Creates a little shadow there. It did take some of the edge of the white off. But I think I might come back with a little white highlight and just kind of like feather and dust across it, the white parts, to kind of add some more highlights back to it. There we go. That's a washed little corgi. We're going to do the same thing to him. This is also going to add some nice reddishness to the tan. The tan was a little flat, if I'm honest. And this is going to add some depth and some vibrance to it. If you ever drop too much on and it ponds up and gets really thick, you can just come back with your brush and tap it onto it and wick it off. Your brush will just like suck it up. And if it doesn't, then you just need to like dry your brush off a little bit and then do it again and it'll suck it up. There we go. Oh, look at that. The wash even gave him a little boomy hole because it ponded up right there. Look at that. How's that for accuracy? Didn't even mean to do that. That was a bonus. Thank you, Wash, for being so considerate. All right, so let's drop those under the fan for a second. Okay, where are we at time-wise? Oh wow, just at 11. Okay. So let's just drop a super quick highlight on here. I just want to grab a little bit of white. And just barely give him like some little some little highlights. Just to bring back some of the white. I'm going to zoom this in a little bit. Yeah, man. Thanks for hanging out, Andre. Glad you got to hang out. Have a good night. Well, thanks for making me a part of your work night. I appreciate that. I've been actually toying a little bit with the music. I think I have another track to generate and add to the rotation. I've been experimenting with some light percussion. I think that looks great. I think the white with the wash on it actually did more than the tan as an intermediary color. Let's put a little bit of black on his base. Honestly, I'm spending more time on these corgis than I normally would on a lot of minis. I'm kind of really liking the challenge. I've never really painted a dog before. What kind of music video are you working on? Something for work or a personal project? Nice. Oh, nice. No, I haven't seen your Wing Badger Gaming music video. I'll have to look that up. I presume it's on your YouTube channel? There we go. Let's give him a touch of white. Nice. I picked up Skyward Sword the other day. Oh, nice. That's amazing. I picked up Skyward Sword the other day and I've been playing through it. Man, I really like that game. I think, like, even with the motion controls, I know, like, you fight against them a little bit, but man, Zelda's my jam. I really like the story in Skyward Sword. Breath of the Wild, man, that was a revolution. I'm so jazzed for Breath of the Wild 2. Skyward Sword's really, really fun, though. And it plays really well on the Switch. It is kind of funny seeing some of my kids get all nostalgic for it because it was like one of their first Zelda games. Which is, you know, is weird to me, but it's like just part of getting older. All right, I think we got him. We have brown doggy and we have black doggy. Go like this. Yeah, well, some people just don't like fun. I know it's definitely not for everybody. But oh man, I played that game like 5 times all the way through. 100% completed it. Did like speed runs. No upgrade run. I mean, I played that game so much. I probably got like 600-700 hours into that game. Maybe more. I don't know. I should check. Well, that is the dog stream, ladies and gentlemen. I think these little doggies turned out fantastic. Now for them to sit in my shelf and never get used in a game. Alright, so let's pop up to the top screen. Close you out. They do look like good boys. Was I a good painted mini? No, dog. You were the best painted mini. spreadsheet, oh, where are you, my spreadsheet? Where are you, spreadsheety spreadsheet? There you are, spreadsheet, I'll put you up there. I hope there are dogs on here. Dog, dragon. There are no dogs. I don't even get to mark it off on my mini spreadsheet. Boo! A blink dog. A death dog. Alright, it's official. In my campaign, all blink dogs are corgis. Yeah, I mean, I could just add it to there and say, hey, I did a dog, but like this is all about the monster manual, like the book that they're in. That's what the MM on the side stands for. I mean, it's a pretty big brain move. I think I'll just leave it off for now. I might add like a personal added list thing to it or something. But we're still at 405 remain. 263 out of 405 done. Maybe next time. I mean, because it makes sense. I don't put like heroes on here and stuff too. It's all about getting that monster manual done. But this is the for funsies stream. We're just doing it for funsies. It's all about the for funsies. And then once we're done with the monster manual, we're going to come over here and we're going to do Volo's Guide to Monsters. 80% mini monster manual, 80% mini painting speedrun. That would take forever because as you can see, there are 500 or 451 monsters, monster types. But that's the number of kinds of monsters. So for like example, I've got the zombies here. I need 15 of them because I want like a big horde of zombies, and 2 yetis because I want, you know, to have more than one in an encounter. So that really cranks the numbers up. I have 15 skeletons. Looks like I'm going to be making 10 sturges. Sturges are small though. 10 orcs. Got 10 orc boys. 6 intellect devourers because I hate my party. 9 guards. Add that number 1 slot to your resume. The Aarakocra. Or the one that says book. Oh, the number 1. Oh, I got you. The number 1 slot of speed running. Yeah. That would be an interesting thing. All right. Well, thank you everybody for hanging out. It's been a blast. We got dogs. We got a dog and a dog and a dog and a dog. And you're gonna sniff each other. You're gonna sniff his butt. Sniff, 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 sniff. Yeah, we're friends now. Do 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 do. That's what you do with minis. I mean, this isn't about like casting fireball and stuff like that. This is we just blah 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 blah. Woof, 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 woof. That's what we do with minis. That's all we really do. I mean, with the Hydra, it's like woof 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 woof. See, that's what we do. That's how you stress test minis to make sure that the paint job is okay. Is you make them yap at each other and you act out scenarios with them. That's how you become an actual dungeon master. I'm going to do a little gatekeeping. You're not actually a dungeon master until you play with your minis like this. Then once you do that, then you manifest and become a dungeon master. Until then, you're just a poser. So, I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. Next Thursday, we're back on the Monster Manual. We're going to be painting up this bad boy. We've already got him base coated, so we're going to be washing him and detailing him and adding some fancy stuff. Probably going to add a lot of nasty little red blood stuff to his teeth and tongue. What if you're a Theater of the Mind DM? You're still required to do this in your own personal time. But you don't have to use it at the table. You still have to do this, though. That's the way it works. Because you don't... Without doing that, you don't invoke the power of the Dungeon Master. Because it's all about the brain development. It's all about the creativity in your head. You know, not actually having the minis. The minis just give you the power. That's the way it works. All right, next Thursday, if you want the Hydra, we're going to do the Hydra. We'll see you then. Y'all be good. Take care.